open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With yours, give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
And I am Jim Waters. Thanks for joining us here on Kentucky's Voice today, the Tuesday edition. We're here every weekday, 11 to noon. You can hear us live right here on 970 WGTK in the Louisville area. And you can also hear us anywhere in the world as we stream this show live on social media, and then you can watch us on television. And that's why I wanted to have Lance Pearson on with us today, because he's going to make us look a lot better when you watch us on TV at 12:30, 4, and 8 o'clock today. But glad to have you, Dr. Lance Pearson, joining me today as a co-host on this show. You normally host this show on Mondays, but we had a schedule shift this week. So, hey, I'm kind of glad. I like doing this. I hadn't been on the show with you for a while, so glad to have you and delighted that you can join us. I know Tuesdays isn't the best day for you, so we appreciate you taking some time, though, and being with us. And Lance is the president of the Louisville Tea Party. And what a lot of people might not know is, also he hosts the show on Mondays. And what a lot of people might not know is that he has a college and pro sports and management background, including, I'm sorry to say, with the Philadelphia 76ers, because I grew up in Indiana with Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics. There we go. Okay, anyhow, glad to have you with us. And I'm always, I always love that background that you have with analytics. You did a lot in analytics, and really, I think a lot of teams now are copying probably or following what you started. Am I right about that?
They definitely are. And I'm a Pacers fan too. We've got TJ McConnell, was a former Sixer, and he's now one of the star players on the Indiana Pacers. And one of my old coaches, one of the assistant coaches, is an assistant with Indiana Pacers, Lloyd Pierce.
How about that?
I've got a lot of fondness for the Pacers as well.
There's hope yet. All right.
That's
Anyhow, Dr. Lance Pearson, thanks. And folks, we only have 3 segments today, thanks to a wonderful advertiser who's stepping in to support this effort and wants to tell you all about it in what would normally be our 4th segment. So that's okay with us. But this is Kentucky's Voice. What is Kentucky's Voice? News, analysis, and opinion on the issues of the day, both state and federal issues and local issues from a conservative, common sense, Christian-based perspective. Maybe we should ask Dr. Lance Pearson, who is Kentucky's Voice? Very simply, it's all who listen, watch, share, like, repost, and support this show. You are all Kentucky's Voice, and we're just here aggregating and amplifying, and we're just sort of being the vessel to get this out. And we're putting together lots of great conservative voices in our state and nation, including Mr. Andrew Cooper-Ryder, who you can hear tomorrow on Wednesdays right here at this same time. So we hope you'll make this part of your day. How you can support us, you can text us at 502-571-0970. Maybe you just want to let us know you're listening and that this show is a source of information and perspective for you. I was in the Waffle House, of all places, in Radcliffe, Kentucky, Dr. Lance Pearson, on Saturday morning. It's the only place that has country ham anymore, so there you go. You got some insight on things I like. But I'm sitting there, and this guy keeps looking at me, and then finally he comes up, and very crowded on Saturday in there, but he didn't stop him. He said, "Aren't you on TV?" And I said, "Well, I was trying to hide that fact this morning, as a matter of fact." No, I'm just kidding. No, we got a big laugh out
of it. I had the same thing. I had earlier this week. someone mentioned, "Hey, I think I saw you on TV."
But
So who knows? Like we're mock.
we're famous. But what he also told me was he introduces himself. He's actually an immigrant who came to this country from Italy, immigrated here legally several years ago from Italy, and is a legal Italian immigrant, and believes as much as anyone I've talked to in the effort to deport those who've come here illegally, especially if they've committed crimes. But if you're here illegally, if you're likely to break one law, you're likely to break others. And he's very supportive of Donald Trump's efforts to reform our immigration policy. He loves the show. Very inspiring conversation. And so let us know if you're listening today, 502-571-0970. Also, you can support us by texting 53555 to KY Voice. And we'll be back with more Kentucky's Voice. Dr. Lance Pearson, Jim Waters here. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
And this is Kentucky's Voice. And I was reminded during the break, and thank you, Dr. Lance Pearson, Dan Brown, that this show streams live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. So you may not be in the listening area of 970 WGTK, the radio station, our flagship station that carries this program live every day, but you can hear us live every day. And you can see us on WBNA Channel 21 if you're in the Louisville area at 12:30. 4 and 8 Eastern time. I also got a message about, hey, you need to say Central Times too. Well, look, folks, just an hour. Everything I say is Eastern time. Just go back an hour. And you can figure it out from there. But I'll tell you right, we're on at 11:30, 3 and 7 Eastern time on Channel 21 WBNA. By the way, if you're a business owner and you're looking to reach potential customers in the greater Louisville area, and if you're looking for an audience of folks who are loyal to the advertisers on this program, this station, this network, let me know. I will personally meet with you and help you set up an advertising campaign and work with you through that campaign to increase your brand awareness, help you build a loyal, consistent, and most importantly, larger customer base. And you can do this also by texting me at 270-320-4376. Or Dan, let's just have him text me at the Kentucky's Voice text line, 502-571-0970. That's 502-571-0970. It's a win-win. You'll help build your business, and you'll support our efforts to build Kentucky's Voice into a statewide powerhouse. We are well on our way. Besides, I love helping businesses grow and get to know the folks who make this happen right here in our community and across our Commonwealth. Well, believe it or not, Dr. Lance Pearson, my co-host today, we are now into March. Our primary election is now less than 90 days from now. Thomas Jefferson said, wherever the people are well informed, they can be trusted with their own government. And you've got some chances, folks, to be well informed. One of those is going to happen right here in Jefferson County, right, with a debate with the Republican Senate candidates for the U.S. Senate seat on the Republican side. Lance Pearson, that will be happening with the Jefferson County Republican Party, I believe. What's the date on that? Do you know?
It's Monday, March 16th.
March 16th.
And that actually corresponds to our next meeting of the Louisville Tea Party. So we're debating how to do that. We don't want to cross program, so we may actually put together a watch party or something.
That sounds
We're
like a
trying
real.
to figure out how to deal with it, but
Yeah.
it's really the first major debate of all these U.S. Senate candidates.
Very good. And also, while we're at it, we're planning on a debate here in May, so we may have one of the last ones. You'll have one of the first ones. So we'll see what happens during that time. Also, I want to go to Hardin County for a moment, make you aware of some of the opportunities that you'll have to educate yourself as voters before the primary there on March 14th. So I guess that would be a Saturday, right? Saturday at 11 a.m., March 14th, Vine Grove City Hall. You can meet your candidates there. This is being put on by the Hardin County Republican Party there. That will be 300 West Main Street, Vine Grove there. You can come out, support your local candidates, find out more about them, ask them questions. That's what I'm going to do because I'm in that area and I need to know more about who the mayoral candidates are. I'm starting to see signs, city council candidate signs. There's going to be a time for the candidates. I'll have a short amount of time to speak, and then there will be questions and answers. This event also will be live streamed and recorded on YouTube. Also, there will be the Hardin County Republican Party is sponsoring a debate with local candidates, Hardin County candidates, 2 candidates for state senate, several candidates for representative and sheriff and PVA and the magisterial districts and constable as well be on there. So that'll be on April 11th at 11 a.m. I believe that also is a Saturday, and that will be at ECTC in room 212, 600 College Street Road in E-Town. So if your group or party or organization has an event coming up during this primary campaign season, you get it to me. We'll let folks know about it if it's in the area here. And, of course, as I mentioned, May 4th is our planned debate for the U.S. Senate candidates, Republican candidates at Evangel Church on Billtown Road. We'll be telecasting that, and we'll be working with some outlets statewide, hopefully to have a statewide presence on that. You can text us that info right here at Kentucky's Voice text line at 502-571-0970. And so speaking of being informed, Dr. Lance Pearson, we want to make sure that people know about what's happening in the legislature. We're in the 39th day of the Kentucky General Assembly, so we're almost 2/3 of the way there for a 60-day session. And I want to go ahead and get your input on that. But first of all, if you've been paying attention to what's happening with the Iranian situation, and who hasn't, right? But I want to make a quick point about how this is being covered, particularly how the death of this dictator, Khamenei, is being portrayed in the progressive Western media. And I found a great summary of that from the Free Press. Go ahead with that clip, Dan Brown.
If you read Ayatollah Khamenei's obituaries from Western media, you might think that a world leader, albeit a slightly controversial one, had died. The New York Times called him a hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power. They described his leadership style as avuncular and magnanimous. The Washington Post assured readers that Iran, under Khamenei, did not seek to destroy the Jewish state militarily, just its dissolution through referendum. The Guardian took us on a tour for his love of Victor Hugo and Persian poetry. They made him sound like a bookish scholar. While these gentle obituaries were being drafted in newsrooms across New York, Washington, and London, Iranians poured into the streets, not to mourn, but to celebrate. For 47 years, they have lived under a regime that imprisoned women for showing their hair, hanged gay men from cranes in public squares, executed political prisoners by the thousands, tortured dissidents, and treated the most basic human rights to speak, dress, and practice religion freely as crimes punishable by death. It is worth remembering what the actual record of his rule was. 22-year-old Masha Amini was killed by the morality police for wearing her hijab improperly. Protests erupted. Khamenei's response? Kill 5.
So, yeah, you get the idea there. And Dr. Pearson, there's a longer clip there, but I don't want to take too much time with it. But I did want to give you a taste of how this is being covered. And this, to me, is ludicrous. You know, this was what I was concerned about, that because of, the Iranians, very, very aware of optics, very aware, you've got this older gentleman all dressed, and he's got the speckles, and he looks cultured, and he looks harmless. He looks like the grandfatherly type. And yet his decisions have been very evil. And I want to also say that's why we need other perspectives, because this is the Washington Post, the New York Times, saying, hey, this guy wasn't that bad. I mean, are you surprised at this?
I'm I'm not surprised based on past history. Wasn't it Ayman al-Zawahiri that they called an austere religious scholar when he was killed? One of the organizers of the Muslim Brotherhood and one of the coordinators of the 9/11 attacks. And so Western media, it's absurd the way that they handle the death of ultimately evil men. Let's just call it for what it is.
Yeah. And Dr. Pearson, Iranians are dancing in the streets. They're joyous. They are so here in our community as well. Dan, let's just play a little bit of that next clip I have right here in Louisville. Iranian Americans. Here's their response to our action in Iran.
Our area are hopeful the U.S. and Israeli operation will bring a lasting regime change.
Our Norman Seawright spoke with two women who say they want this to bring lasting peace to their homeland.
Yeah, Rick, the two women I spoke with have lived in Louisville for at least 15 years, and they say while Americans may be divided on opinions about the strike on Iran, they're celebrating what it could mean for their future.
This is a huge piece of history. It started on the February 28th. To have a better world.
We met Robbie Archin and Nilufar Sabzavari at Archin's Subway franchise in Charlestown, Indiana. Archin's been in Louisville for 18 years, fleeing the Islamic Republic of Iran, which she says has continued to persecute and threaten her family ever since killing her grandfather, a tribal and political leader.
I have a human rights case about, my grandparents.
Sabzavari's been in the U.S. for 15 years and sent us video of her celebrating the night she heard American and Israeli airstrikes had killed the country's leader, Ali Khamenei.
I still can't believe that. I still need to see his picture. That's how bad he was.
Yeah, you've got the idea there, Dr. Pearson. I got to be honest with you. This gives me a lot of joy to see these folks celebrating and looking forward to hopefully a future of freedom in Iran. This is a historical moment, is it not?
Well, there's no question it's historical. This regime has controlled Iran for 47 years now. Right after the Islamic Revolution, the student, quote unquote, religious student-led revolution of 1979. And so certainly the Iranians who have immigrated to the U.S. are almost universally in support of the removal of that regime.
Well, they seem to be there too. Yeah, they seem to be in Iran as well.
Exactly. And I'm sure there's a mix of opinion. There's 95 million people in Iran. So there's no doubt there are probably supporters of the regime there. And I'm sure that tons of people are celebrating in the streets as well. See how it all sorts out. It's a very complex issue.
Yep. Very good. Very, very good analysis. Coming up, we'll talk about the bills in the Kentucky General Assembly that we need to push and those we might need to pull. And we'll make sure you know about the bills that have already passed and reached the governor's desk. Stay with us. Kentucky's Voice. More of it next.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Want to hear from you on our Kentucky's Voice text line at 502-571-0970. Thanks for staying with us here on Kentucky's Voice on this Tuesday. And Jim Waters in with you. I'm just trying to steer the ship here. Dr. Lance Pearson is the captain here today. We're going to get to him in just a moment about the legislator and give you a full legislative update on bills that we need to pull, bills we need to push. And first, though, I promise we had a texter on our text line that got in yesterday, but too late, and I promised them I would address this today. The text said the Secretary of War has no end game for this war, speaking, of course, of the Iranian attack and situation. The president should not let gas prices go up, this texter said, and use American oil instead of foreign oil. Well, I don't think anybody's going to have a big problem with that, but there are some things that need to be focused on here. National security is one. Economic realities is another, and the principles of American energy independence. And I think the important point about knowing about an end game is we shouldn't probably always tell what the end game's going to be. I think ultimately the end game is, and I think everybody understands, is freedom for the Iranian people and removing, and maybe even more importantly and more relevant to the argument about whether the president should do this, is removing a threat to America's security. And there's a well-documented list of attacks and violent doings by the Iranian regime that is being taken down that leaves little doubt that they wanted truly, when they said death to America, that's what they meant. So I think you have to look at it this way also. There's going to be some decisions to be made depending on how things work out here. So it's, I think that's something to keep in mind. Of course, this just brings home the need, Dr. Lance Pearson, for us to be independent of energy independent of countries, especially those that hate our guts. Okay? I mean, this is common sense, right? I mean, this program's about common sense too. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Now, we should put into perspective, the U.S. actually produces more oil than the next three highest producing oil countries combined. Yeah. So the U.S. is producing tons of oil right now, but ultimately oil is a global market. No matter wherever anybody that needs oil can find it, they're going to buy it for the best price they can find it.
Yeah.
And so we're using all the oil that we currently have. We're getting some from Venezuela now, and we still don't have enough. Like, it's an insatiable desire, and this is really going to roil oil markets. I feel certain of that.
Well, if I may, on the policy side, the answer to having lower energy costs and more energy is not more government intervention and things like pricing and all that. So it's rather the aggressive slashing of government regulation, federal regulations, and the expedited approval of permits for drilling, for pipelines, for refineries. Unleash it all. Drill, baby, drill. I'm all for it. And, of course, we need to get Kentucky coal and natural gas in there as well. It's a relevant issue. Well, Dr. Pearson, there's never enough time on this show, is there? But we're gonna do the best we can here with let's do a legislative update now. And as I said, we're in the 39th day officially on the calendar of a 60-day session. And that means that there are 60 days in the session. They don't meet, of course, on weekends, and there's other days. But as far as the legislative calendar goes, we've got about a third of the session left after today, as we're 2/3 really the way through. I guess we should mention the number one priority of legislators, the number one constitutional duty of legislators is to pass a balanced budget here. Do you have any thoughts on that today? I know we've had a budget pass the House. The House has passed its budget. The Senate will consider it. There's been some delay, though, because this administration, the Bashir administration, continues to not provide the information that the legislature needs to properly do its job. This is outrageous, I think.
That's right. And that really flared up over the interim session. So this has been going on for months, 5 months. They've been trying to get records for recommendations on how much to spend in the various areas of the government from the governor's office. And the governor has basically been stonewalling them, saying that all of that is work product and you will see the final numbers that we want at the end. And the legislators, I think, very reasonably are like, no, we need to see the work product. If we're going to try to cut back on some of the spending, we need to know what logic goes into how much these numbers, the final numbers, where those come from.
Which,
And
of course, when you talk about wanting to slash spending, which this governor knows that's what they want it for, and so he's not on board with that. He doesn't think we ever should cut. He never saw a spending government program or tax increase that he didn't absolutely adore, and he never saw a tax cut or spending cut that he didn't despise.
That's right. That's right. And we're talking real money here. This is a 2-year budget, so we're talking about $31 billion over 2 years of state spending. We're not even talking the federal money that comes down to the state, and we get a lot of federal money here in Kentucky.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's look at some bills that have passed both chambers. We've had a bill signed into law. First of all, let's start there. Senate Bill 172, which really directly relates to this tough winter that we've had here. Tell us about that, Dr. Lance Pearson.
Yeah, that's right. There's only one bill that has already become law. They like to backload the calendar so then they can complain about we don't have any time whenever there's a bill that they don't really want to have time to pass.
Right.
But they have passed one. The governor did sign it. It was SB 172. And my understanding of what it does is there is an agency in the state government that controls public utility companies. It's called the Public Service Commission, the PSC. And what this does is it tells the PSC to allow utility companies to spread out spikes in bills over multiple months. And so this actually impacted my family. My mother owns some commercial property in Southern Kentucky. Normally, the winter electric bill, I think, is somewhere in the $200 to $300 range. She got a bill for about $800 or $900 because of that Arctic, they called it the Arctic freeze, where the whole eastern seaboard was basically frozen. And so a lot of people saw a huge spike in their electrical bill. Now, currently, the utility companies have to pass that on right when you use it. You get charged for how much electricity or natural gas or whatever it is you're using to heat your home you use in that month. This allows them to spread that over multiple months, and I think would be a big help to a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think the companies already had that option, didn't they? Many of them offered customers that option already, but a lot of people didn't know about it, right? And so now it's past the point of being able to sign up for that. But I would encourage everyone to do that anyhow. If you can sign up with your utility company, you can spread out those payments. You'll pay a little more during the nice weather, but when this hits, you'll be better off. So I think you're right. So that's Senate Bill 172. All right, let's see. There's been two bills that have passed both houses that have gone to the governor's desk. He has not taken action on them officially as far as I know yet. One of those is House Bill 314, which really gets rid of this Kentucky Communications Network Authority that oversaw this really boondoggle, this wireless government-owned wireless boondoggle called Kentucky Wired, and what a mess that's been.
That's right. And my understanding of what this bill does is it takes it out from direct control of the governor and moves it under the Office of Technology. So it's basically shifting it to a different area of the country, of the state government, but it's basically you have failed in managing this. We've got billions of dollars in overruns at this point. So they're just like, enough is enough. We're going to move the management of this entire Kentucky Wired project under a different office. Well, so I think that's what that bill accomplishes. I think it's a good idea. There's no way the governor's going to sign it.
Well, and there's every way that the legislature is going to override it, as they've done hundreds of times. Unbelievable. Okay, the other bill that's passed both houses, House Bill 1, which would opt Kentucky into the federal tax credit scholarship program. Let me just say the best thing about this bill is there's not anything that this governor can do to stop it. Nothing the teachers' unions can do to stop it. Nothing the educrats and the superintendents and whoever else wants to stop education freedom. Finally, Kentucky's parents are going to have some freedoms. 10 seconds, Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll carry this over to the next segment. This is the most important bill other than the budget in this session. But yeah, the important thing is no state dollars are involved. It's all tax credit.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little more when we come back on Kentucky's Voice. right here. Stay with us. Thanks for joining us.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
We'd love to hear from you today at 502-571-0970. You don't even have to talk on the radio or TV. All you have to do is text. I mean, how much easier can we make this? But love to hear from you. 502-571-0970, our Kentucky's Voice text line. By the way, if you're a business owner, you want to advertise, and we can help you expand your customer base. We can help you build your brand. I love doing that for businesses myself. I'll come sit down with you myself. Just text me at 502-571-0970. This off our Kentucky's Voice text line today. Do we know how the situation in Iran is being explained in our public schools and how dangerous the Iranian regime is? Well, I don't know for sure, but we can only conjecture and speculate that a liberal left-wing progressive school district like the Jefferson County Public Schools, which is an abject failure in every sense of the word, both academically, financially, just any way you want to look at it, you can pretty well bet that if they are teaching about this, it's either at best incompetent or at worst ideology to make America the bad guy, or to make the Iranian regime not seem to be pretty cultured, and they like the Persian poets. That's when I think the Washington Compost wrote, and these different publications. So anyhow, I'd love to hear from you. 502-571-0970. That's why we need Kentucky's Voice, Dr. Lance Pearson, my co-host for today. We need this conservative outlet and outlets like this across the country that folks know they can come and get a conservative, common sense, faith-based point of view. By the way, we should be concerned about Sharia law. There is a bill that I think would sort of clarify, wouldn't it, in the legislature, that we're not going to adhere to Sharia law. Do you know anything about that bill?
I actually don't.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that one.
Well, that's sort of out of left field. I'm sorry.
You wouldn't think it would be controversial, though.
Yeah, but I know that's being discussed in some circles. But let's go to things you are ready to talk about, Dr. Pearson, and of course, House Bill 1, as we said, positions Kentucky to participate in the federal education tax credit scholarship framework. And what this would do would allow donations to be made to scholarship granting organizations, with the donor receiving a matching federal tax credit. And this would expand, most importantly, I think, options for parents. What I'm saying is I think this is the most important aspect of this, is it would expand options for parents when it comes to the educating of their children to pick a better school, find a better educational setting for their school. And especially if you're a low-income parent or a parent who has special needs children, this would be really fantastic. And the bill is set up, I believe, to allow, I believe it would be the Secretary of State, right, to oversee this program.
Yeah, they didn't want to put it under Bashir because they didn't think he would act in good faith. I think very reasonably that was their assumption.
Right.
So yeah, this is being organized by the Secretary of State, and if you pay $1,700 or more in your federal taxes, this is a dollar for dollar refund. Instead of giving that money to the federal government, you give it to one of these scholarship granting organizations, and then dollar for dollar, that gets subtracted from your federal taxes. Importantly, no state money is being used.
Right.
The Kentucky Supreme Court has taken an interpretation that any state money that's involved in any way violates the Kentucky Constitution if it's going towards non-public schools.
Yeah.
And so this does not involve the state's money at all. It's all federal tax credits. And really, this was a no-brainer piece of legislation for the state legislature. It doesn't affect Kentucky's budgets. It's all a federal budget issue. So
Yeah.
I don't think the Supreme Court is going to have any basis for stopping this. And it's going to allow that $1,700 to be transferred to low-income individuals. In fact, it doesn't even block some public school funding from going from these scholarship organizations. For example, if there's an after-school program that the public school is running that needs funds, they could apply for one of these grants and get a grant. So it's not even limited to private or homeschools.
Right. It would actually do very similar what House Bill 563 would have done on the state level, which is allow public school students to also get a scholarship to help add whatever's needed to their educational experience. So if they need tutoring, if they need supplies, special needs students need special therapy or special settings, this would help. It's all about the educating of the student, and the student is at the center of this. And yes, you're right. Our state Supreme Court has no say in this. I left them out of the list of people, but that's the most satisfying thing about this after years of fighting for this, is that these groups who have fear-mongered, scare-mongered, traveled this state lying through their teeth about what school choice is and is not, have no say in this. They'll be gnashing their teeth about this. There's nothing, as far as I know, they can do about this. And in fact, our U.S. Supreme Court in the past has clearly stated that such programs are constitutional according to our U.S. Constitution. So I think it's a great day for Kentucky families and parents, and it's a great win for us here in the state. By the way, I want to thank Representative T.J. Roberts for being the sponsor of that bill. You know, he's really done a great job on this, and I saw him in the Capitol, thanked him, and he said, of course, as if, he had it on his mind all the time. So we're appreciative of him. We're appreciative of the leadership. You know, we criticize where it needs to be happen. We criticize where criticism is required, but we also need to thank these legislative leaders. They've expended some political capital on this issue, and I truly appreciate it, and so do many parents and school choice supporters across our state. By the way, we're going to have on some experts on the federal legislation that can answer more questions and get more into how this is actually going to work in future shows, and that won't be far off. But for now, let's celebrate this win that we have. Well, Dr. Pearson, we've got about 5 minutes left. What about other bills that people need to be focusing on and our listeners and viewers need to either push or pull on?
Well, I think HB 2 is probably the second most non-budget bill. And really, the reason it's important is because it does affect our budget quite a bit. That's a bill that reorganizes the way that we have oversight over Medicaid in the state. As our listeners probably know, I think the original Bashir, Daddy Bashir, opted us into Medicare expansion.
Medicaid, yeah. Medicaid.
Over a third of people in the state of Kentucky are now on Medicaid in some form.
Mm-hmm.
And the expenses that are associated with that have just exploded, especially in the last few years since COVID. that it's driving up the state's medical costs. Even though the federal government picks up most of that cost, just the state portion has been exploding. And so the one big beautiful bill, which put in the provision that HB1 is taking advantage of, it also had some requirements, some added requirements for these states that have expanded Medicaid. There basically needs to be a lot more oversight. And so Ken Fleming is the primary sponsor of that bill. Very important that it passes. I have no doubt it will. The governor will veto it. They will override it.
Lance, let's stop there for a minute on that. Let's just point out, I just want to remind everyone that back when Daddy Bashir, as you said, the original Bashir, did this, it was the Obamacare expansion. It was under Obamacare. And we said, and at that time, there were people in this state who were on private insurance, who were doing business in the private sector with insurers, and they were paying their way. But when the eligibility increased, the eligibility threshold increased for the government-run program, many people dropped that private coverage they had and came over and got on the government dole and drove up the cost of this for taxpayers. We said this was going to happen. Now, I would challenge anyone to prove to me that this has improved our health in Kentucky, the health of Kentuckians. There's no evidence that it has. And yet we were told this will help Kentucky become much more healthy. And all the health nannies were telling us this, and that we have to do this. And yet it's not there. And we said it wasn't going to happen, because just having a card doesn't mean you have care. Just having a Medicaid card doesn't mean you're going to get good health care and that it's going to improve the health standings of our state. It hasn't happened. And all the things we said would happen did happen. More costs, more people on the government dole, more dependency on government, but no real benefit to this state.
That's right. And so this institutes a lot of things that I consider very common sense. It adds some co-pays, some minor co-pays. You know, you pay $10 or $15 for office visits, and that generally discourages people from making unnecessary use of the medical system and jamming things up with unnecessary expenses. It adds in some work reporting requirements. You have to be involved in community engagement or work reporting in order to maintain, if you're an able-bodied adult, we're not talking about sick kids, but able-bodied adults need to basically be seeking out jobs or engaging with the community and doing public service in order to stay on Medicare.
Aren't those Republican legislators just a bunch of meanies, man? They're just
exactly.
Meanies.
It's unbelievable to me that this is even debatable. Like, obviously, these things should be in place. There was also a Medicaid requirement where if counties have a certain level of unemployment, they didn't have to be looking for a job. This basically does away with that, which to me is absurd. If anything, the counties that have high unemployment, people should be looking for a job even more.
Right.
So anyway, these are all basic restrictions on the amount of cost that Medicaid is adding to the state budget. I think all very reasonable.
Yeah. Anything else in the last minute we have here? What else?
Well, one that's a little bit hot is let me find the number of the bill. HB 299 passed the House this time, and this is somewhat controversial. Jason Nemeth sponsored it. It's, I believe they call this the Glock switch law. But what this does is people are creative, including firearms manufacturers, and so they have come up with like devices that allows for firearms to rapidly cycle through. They call them machine guns. That's a nonsense term. That passed the House, and it was very controversial for a lot of Second Amendment advocates.
Dr. Lance Pearson, thank you for the update. Thanks for keeping us informed. Never enough time, but we'll do this again. It was fun. Have a great rest of the day, folks. Kentucky's Voice. Join us on TV 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central. Don't miss it. God bless. See you tomorrow.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome to the program, Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today with Tom Fallbush with Bob Scott, and we have a really excellent guest on and an excellent topic, and especially for this time of the year, Bob, because first part of the year, people make their New Year's resolutions to get healthier.
Okay, we're done, right?
And there's never been a better way to do that than with this program we're going to talk about. You can lose 20 to 40 pounds in only 40 days, guaranteed, and it's through a local a group called Vitality Wellness and Weight Loss, and we have the spokesperson David Jespers on the line with us. Davis, I'm sorry. Tell us about this. And so, 20 to 40 pounds in 40 days. That's pretty impressive. How do you pull that off?
Yeah, good question. So it's actually interesting. My background, I was planning on being a pastor. So I was in seminary, and I just started gaining a bunch of weight. I was eating the same way I was eating in college, but not having the metabolism that I did when I was in college. And I walked past a mirror and I found this I saw this extra fat roll under my arm, and I hated that. And so I decided I was going to do something. So I started counting calories, because that's what people said to do. If you count calories and your calorie expenditure is more than what your intake is, then you'll lose weight. So I was like, okay, this sounds pretty simple. So I, for a year, ate between 800 and 1200 calories. I did that for a year, and I ended up losing 20 pounds. Now, if you go back and do the mathematically, based upon the calories, I should have lost 50. But again, I don't know anything about what I'm doing. I'm just doing the best I can.
Just eating less, just eating less calories.
Eating less, and exercising more, which is
what everybody says to do. Yeah.
It's what we're told to do. I then went on a cruise, and it was the first time I've ever been on a cruise, and I wasn't, I didn't drink alcohol. I don't like sweets. The only thing the only difference was I wasn't counting calories, and I wasn't counting calories because I didn't want to pay the extra money for the internet on this cruise. And I gained 7 pounds in 5 days, a 5-day cruise.
Wow.
And honestly, it was so discouraging. When I was 195 pounds, and I'm 5'4". Now, if you on the dating apps, I'm 6 foot, but 5'4" in reality. So that would make me, at 195 pounds, that would make me medically classified as obese.
Obese, yeah.
And
Wow.
so
So it's got to be a metabolism issue. It's more than just calories in, calories out,
Exactly.
energy expended. Some
Yeah.
people are wired differently. Some people have a different metabolism, and they just process food differently. And so it sounds like that's what you're dealing with.
Well, and then exactly. So then I worked with a naturopath doctor, and he said, the approach that you're using is wrong. He said weight loss is actually really simple. It's all about getting your metabolism working like the person who can eat whatever they want and never gain a pound, right? Like I hate those people, but that's what I needed. So I worked with this gentleman for about 6 months. We did all of these tests, and he then created, after 6 months of these tests, a program that was unique and specific to help my metabolism. And when I started eating, I could eat very limited foods. It's like 12 foods I could eat. And then I was taking all of these supplements, and I immediately felt good, which was a big difference between starving myself by counting calories and then just eating the foods that were right for my body. I then lost 30 pounds in 40 days with this metabolic approach to weight loss.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, Davis, you hear so much about drugs like Ozempic, bariatric surgery, and we know that more and more is coming out about the risk and side effects, of drugs like that. And I was really encouraged when I heard you said you worked with a naturopathic doctor. I think that's huge. That you did that. I'm not surprised in the sense that you saw some results, as a result of that. So I'm assuming that your approach is obviously more natural, as far as the way you go about this. Is that correct?
That's correct. So, so I go through this transformation for myself, and I'm like, okay, I drop out of school for being a pastor, and I start studying nutrition, because the way my life was transformed was it was the biggest transformation I'd ever had. And it gave me this huge amount of confidence that I could do anything that I wanted to do. And I then get into distance sports, and I start watching a guy named James Lawrence, and his nickname is the Iron Cowboy. And he is doing, at this time, this is 2015, 50 Ironman triathlons in 50 states in 50 days. And he actually did it, which is incredible. And I noticed he was doing this bioscan that he kept on talking about. He would do one in the morning and he would do another one at night. So I did some research, and I found the company that made this equipment, and I reached out to them, and I said, is there some way we could take this equipment and apply it to metabolic function instead of sports performance? And they said, absolutely. You just need to program it with us. And so that's when I reached out to my friend, Dr. Perks. And I was like, hey, I need some help here in more of the deeper medical stuff. So then we worked together to program our first metabolic bioscan. It took us about a year to do. And then when we finished, Dr. Perks was like, well, before I can have any of my patients do this, I need to do it first. So then he was our first guinea pig, and he lost 32 pounds in 40 days. And because of the bioscanning technology now, what took 6 months and about $15,000 worth of all of these tests, we can now do at our offices in 17 and a half minutes.
That's crazy. So, and all that with no exercise? Is that what you're saying? So no exercise. It's just all just measuring just scanning the body, understanding what it needs, what the right foods are, and just kind of dialing it in just right from a diet standpoint. That's it. Is it?
And here's the principle that we try to reinforce so people understand. When you focus on weight loss, you slow metabolic function. And it hurts your body's ability to lose weight in the future. That's why, for a year, I ate so few calories that my body's metabolism slowed down.
Oh, okay.
And then that's why I gained 7 pounds.
When you had a bunch of extra food.
Days.
Yeah, because your body's used. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
And this is then what happens with people. They're stuck in this constant yo-yo where they lose weight, but then they gain weight and then more back. And there was that documentary on Biggest Loser where everybody gained their weight back and then some.
Yeah.
And that's because the focus on weight loss hurts metabolism, but a focus on metabolism, the side effect to that is weight loss.
Is weight loss. Fascinating. That is a really interesting insight. So what about like intermittent fasting and stuff? You know, is that good? Should you do that?
Absolutely. So we incorporate intermittent fasting in part of what we do for our program. But intermittent fasting, like the way the body's insulin levels work and glucose, we're not meant to be eating 3 square meals a day.
Right.
Like that idea came about from the FDA trying to sell more food.
Sell Cheerios. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It actually, you're supposed to eat like a meal or 2 a day, and you have like a big insulin spike, and then it comes back down. But like most Americans, we're like constantly eating.
Yeah.
So we have like a low grade insulin that causes obesity.
Yeah, you're really onto something, Davis, because I have battled, on the health side, ulcerative colitis for many years. And recently I started more of an intermittent fasting where I'm doing now and have employed with great success what you're talking about, where I'm eating 1, maybe 2 meals a day. And it's within a defined window. It's my understanding you have a gift for our listeners, and I'd like for you to share that with them. I'm sure they're very interested in what you might have.
Yeah. So pull out your phone. We do initial assessment is typically $300, but for the listeners of the show, we're going to give it to you for only $47.
Oh, wow.
So pull out your phone. It's really simple. You're going to hit pound 250 and then call. You're going to hear a recording, and you're going to use the code word Vitality. And then we're going to send you a text message with a link where you can then register for your $47 assessment that's normally $300. So pound 250, use the code word Vitality, and we will send you a text message with that special.
That's absolutely incredible. I just want to thank you for being on the program today. Really, what you've shared is fascinating. I know it's something I'm going to check out myself. You got my interest, for sure. And again, this is pretty impressive. The fact that you can. And I was in the health and fitness business myself for about 20 years. So, needless to say, something like this absolutely gets my attention, and how you can really transform your health in a relatively short period of time, and do it very, very simply, as far as the process is concerned. And I just, again, want to thank you for coming on and sharing with us and our audience about your new exciting discovery and what it can mean and how it can affect other people.
Yeah, and it's Vitality, wellness, and weight loss.
Wellness and weight loss,
that's and they can contact you through what you suggested there, the phone link there, but also your website, I assume.
Best to get the special, just all listeners just dial pound 250 and then use the code word Vitality, and then we'll send you a link.
That's the best way to do it. Yep.
Yeah, that link will walk you through all of the steps then.
Brilliant. Good deal. Davis, thanks for being on the show today. Really appreciate your time and great work, because a lot of people need this, and I know I need it, Bob, but I mean, we can all use it. So I'm going to buy a scan tomorrow. So here we go. Okay. All right. Thanks, Davis. Talk to you soon.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KY Voice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.